You want to make your fantasy sports league more than a fantasy? Then you need Trophy Smack.
It's the #1 store for fantasy and tournament trophies, belts, draft boards, loser awards, and other ridiculous products.
Trophy Smack is more than just a trophy company with outstanding customer service and products. It's the very essence and heart of every fantasy league. And if you click now, TrophySmack.com gives you free shipping, a free loser poster, and can have the hardware to you in a few days. Bragging rights included. Go to TrophySmack.com right now and take your fantasy league to the next level.
Go. It's about to be a jovial 60 minutes, my dude. And you hear right now, what you gonna hear right now? Chase of all the places, and you hear right now, what you gonna hear right now? Chase of all the places. Been win the Dynasty, but does she like me? Feel like a plumber sleeping, now that's a pipe dream. For the right fee, I might be entitled to the title. Be on top like the cherry of an ice cream. Sunday, that's the one day I can come play, never complain. Cause I know the boys gon' drop a pod, prop up my squad so I can talk a lot. But here we go again, it's a new year, rookies flowing in, it's some new tears. Who here to dude's fear? Bounce bells over their chest like boutonnieres. It's a new era, happy hour, yeah. Let me ask you this, are you trying to get picks? Are you trying to get rich? Are you trying to get ships? Then you're trying to get this. And you hear right now, what you gonna hear right now? Chase of all the places, and you hear right now, what you gonna hear right now? Chase of all the places.
Hello and welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour, part of, as the foreseen, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or MySpace, any of the, just kidding, MySpace isn't a thing. I mean, it's still a thing, but not really.
Is it back? Is it back?
It never left. It's still there. You know what I liked about MySpace before we get into fantasy points?
I know.
Because I loved on MySpace how you could like pick a song and it would play when people were. That was just super cool. That was like one of my favorite things. I didn't care for the top 8 friends. That was petty high school BS. Not my thing. But yeah, I missed that part of MySpace. That was fun. And there was a lot of cool artists on there. But anyway, we are brought to you by Fantasy Points. We are part of the Fantasy Points Media Group. If you go on to fantasypoints.com, 'tis the season. I just did a redraft this evening. James had a couple of drafts today. 90% of subscribers made the playoffs in 2020. You know what? I bet that percentage is even better. Is that even possible? I think it is. There's still 10% going to make the playoffs. So if you use code 21DHH10, you get 10% off a Fantasy Points subscription. It's the lowest price in the industry compared to other competitors. They've got all sorts of draft tools on there. There's a DFS optimizer. So if you like to play on FanDuel or DraftKings, you'll have that on there as well. It's just an awesome tool. It's an awesome website. The network is great, is full of great podcasts. So make sure if you listen to us to check them out as well. And you can do so on fantasypoints.com. And again, 21DHH10 to get 10% off a Fantasy Points subscription. Boys, I'm knee deep in redraft season. We're feeling the crunch in Dynasty with these running back injuries. I know Tyler is he's gonna be Justin Timberlake and absolutely cry us a river this evening.
So honestly,
swimming in it.
I'm gonna go right into that. We just watched A Quiet Place 2, and I'm sitting there thinking, how can I correlate my Dynasty teams to A Quiet Place, because everything is just getting destroyed. Well, my Dynasty team, is making too much noise. So then it just gets obliterated by these.
Gets attacked.
Yeah, it gets attacked and it's just gone. That's pretty much I have probably 3 Dynasty teams that went from competing and my UDPL one was on border 6th, maybe 5th. But no, the other teams, I was competing, one of the best teams, and now I'm literally scrounging for running backs, and I'm going to probably have to either give it up this year or trade for an overpriced running back, and I don't know which route to go. I'm struggling with that choice.
Yeah, in the bar tab league, which I pretty much took over as an orphan and then saved a bunch of money and really attacked rookies, I still have a super young team. So my three-headed monster
Thanks, Geico.
of Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, and J.K. Dobbins is now a one-headed monster. I made a move to get T.J. Hawkinson because I was like, you know what? I looked at my roster. It's super flex. I've got Jalen Hurts. I've got Baker. I've got Trey Lance. I've got the 3 running backs. I've got CeeDee Lamb. I've got Ayuk. I've got Jamar Drops, Chase. I've got just an awesome young Laviska Shenault on that team. I've got a really good team. I've got Hawkinson. So I was like, you know what? I could make a run at it this year. I think I'm going to kick the can to 2022 because I don't think I'm going to make a run with those 2 running backs going down.
I'm in the same boat, Doug. I am in the same boat. My home league, it is terrifying. I started out with 5 strong running backs: Dalvin Cook, Miles Sanders, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins. I'm sitting there like, oh, fine. I'll go out and pick up Myles Gaskin on the cheap just as another backup.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm looking at Dalvin Cook, Miles Sanders, and Myles Gaskin.
Sounds fine to me. I mean, that sounds like glorious. You would think so, that but amazing. In a 10-team home league, dynasty league, where these guys hoard players and hoard backfields, like if I get one more injury, I am done for. And this team I thought was stacked. I'm selling away other quarterbacks to acquire picks and players, and now I'm like, man, maybe I should start evaluating my older wide receivers and get them off now and start acquiring more picks or other younger players like that. That's why I'm really debating life right now when it comes to that. With that particular league anyway.
Yeah. So if you haven't heard already, we're obviously talking about J.K. Dobbins went down in the preseason game. Hey, congrats. The Ravens have won 20 straight preseason games, but they lost their most dynamic playmaker in the backfield. With J.K. Dobbins went down. It was officially diagnosed as a torn ACL, so his season is over. So we lose J.K. Dobbins. We've lost Cam Akers. We've lost Travis Etienne. So we're looking at 3 of the top 12 to 15 dynasty running backs here in one preseason. This happens every year. So I'm not, none of this is surprising. This happens every year.
Like this, though. With the younger talent.
There's usually and the season hasn't even started yet. We'll lose another 1 or 2 when the season starts. That's probably going to happen. Hopefully it's not Jonathan Taylor because then I'm completely sunk. And I have him in a couple other leagues. So fingers crossed it's not Jonathan Taylor. But obviously this means big news for the Gus Edwards owner. I own Gus Edwards in a league that Tyler and I are in. And the J.K. Dobbins owner sent me an offer. He's like, hey, I'd like to get Gus Edwards to lock up that backfield. Gus really wouldn't start for me. Even on bye weeks, he might get into my lineup. So I sent Gus Edwards away. I sent Gus Edwards away, but I got Michael Gallup, and I sent Gus with like a 4th-round pick, I think, for next year or the year after. I'm still okay with it because Gus Edwards is like, my team is competing. Gus would have been like a good depth piece, but I still have Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Miles Sanders, and some other players. So I'm not hurting. And I like young receivers. And I think Gallup, who I actually traded for in another league today, I sent it out to you guys and I said, hey, which side would you prefer? Do you prefer Damian Harris or Ronald Jones and Michael Gallup? And Tyler's like, yeah, I value Rojo and Damian Harris the same. And I do too. I think Rojo is actually really, really good. And there's something about owning a New England Patriot running back in Dynasty that it's like he's always on thin ice. It could be 1 or 2 years, and then, Ramondre Stevenson's the guy. They let Harris walk in his free agent year, which is coming up the end of next year. So I was like, you know what? I like Rojo. Rojo's actually a little bit younger too, fun fact. And Gallup's only 25 years old. He's going to be a free agent. There's no way the Cowboys can re-sign him. And he could get paid wide receiver 1 money, I think, depending on how the free agency class looks. I think someone will pay Michael Gallup to be either a wide receiver 1 or an awesome wide receiver 2 on their team.
Everybody needs a show horse.
That's right. So I pulled the trigger. I had good running back depth. I also did have J.K. Dobbins in that particular league. But I'm still okay. I got Antonio Gibson and some other guys, so I'll be all right. But just some fun Michael Gallup trades, I guess. But Gus Edwards obviously gets the big bump here. So James, if you own Gus Edwards and it's a team that you're not competing this year, what would your accept offer be if someone were to offer you draft picks, for instance, for Gus Edwards?
Draft picks. I think at this point, with the value going on right now, I think at least 2 seconds or a late first. Okay. I wouldn't accept anything under that. Like there's no way possible. Like the way he's a starting running back, I think he's in a better position than Darrell Henderson is.
Yeah.
Because he has the other competition and people are going out and trying to acquire Justice Hill. Like Justice Hill is going to make a real difference. I mean, in the totality of the situation, I think it's just more Lamar Jackson carry wise. Like I think, with Rashad Bateman out for at least up until week 3 or 4, I think they're going to stick to the Lamar Jackson run the ball script more now than ever because they don't have J.K. Dobbins. Gus Edwards, I don't know if he can handle a full workload, but he's definitely worth a late first or 2 seconds right now.
Yeah, I think the important thing, if you're cashing out on Gus Edwards, you do it now because cutdowns are coming. They're going from 80 players to 53. That is a huge amount of players that are going to be free agents. And there's going to be some quality running backs. There's probably going to be a running back from Houston, I would imagine, that might get cut. There's going to be players that are going to get cut. Could happen. Mark Ingram listed as a starter. Maybe Ingram gets cut or traded back to Baltimore. Who knows? I don't know. There's going to be some sort of veteran there. I mean, I don't think they're going to roll out with Gus Edwards, Tyson Williams, Justice Hill, who we all liked coming out of the combine because he was fast, but he hasn't really done anything at the NFL level. Maybe he has an opportunity now. Latavius Murray to Baltimore, says Corey. I could do that. But I think you got to cash in on the Gus Edwards chip while it's hot. And if you can get a first, boom, you are doing things right because Gus Edwards' value previous to that injury was probably maybe a late second or a third. Yeah. Maybe a late second if someone was high on him. But I also think that this, you talked about Bateman missing some time. I think this probably increases the value of a Bateman or a Mark Andrews or even a Hollywood Brown.
Mark Andrews his value keeps on rising this offseason.
And so does Josh Oliver, who's looking really good this preseason.
You know what? Keep dreaming.
This is a Josh Oliver account. Yeah. I this tight ends I just can't give up on. David Njoku's another one. I'm just never going to give up. I'm going to be there's not enough room on this door, Rose. Just, I'm going to try to scooch my way up and never give up.
There was always enough room.
There was way room. She was like, I don't really love you all that much. Adios, Leo.
Yeah, I like to we just stick to tight ends. I mean, Evan Ingram. There's a lot of people out there still Evan Ingram truthers. He just got injured again. Doug, like it's not looking good for him, man. So everybody that
calf injury, I think he's Ingram, had before,
not looking good.
You know what I do like though? So here's the sneaky. Speaking of the Giants, now we all know Kenny Galladay's got soft tissue issues. We don't know what Kadarius Toney is, but how solid is Sterling Shepard for the price that you can get him for a win now team? Like this guy balled out the last month of the season. I mean, he's 28 years old. But he doesn't have a lot of wear on the tires. But he's a player that could play in the league for a long time because he's that slot guy. I mean, Golden Tate played until he was 32 or 33. Like Sterling Shepard, I know he's not as athletic as Golden Tate was, but Sterling Shepard can play for a long time. So if you're looking for a solid wide receiver on your win now teams, go get Sterling Shepard. He's going to see a ton of targets. Like absolutely. Darius Slayton, I don't think he's a thing. I know, Tyler, you're not a fan of him. But I think Sterling Shepard is a smart play. And you can get him relatively inexpensively if you need a fringe starter or at least a flex play during the season. You can go that route. So any other thoughts on Baltimore before we move on?
Just sadness. I mean, how in the world is it possible to make 2 trades in the past week and like 2 days after those trades happen, that running back that I got in return gets season-ending injury? So
yeah, it was like a Trojan horse trades. They're like just trying to ruin your team.
I mean, honestly, I'm kind of over it. I know I'm not going anywhere, so it's actually fun for me. Like I like the aspect of selling and seeing the rebuild happen. I kind of like that. Like I've had tons of opportunities to get rid of older players. Like I have Stafford, I have Gallup, I have Tyler Higbee. I have some other players.
Antonio Brown.
And it's kind of fun to see what I can get for these guys and kind of just have fun with the season. Maybe play spoiler once in a while, when I come on matchups. And I'm kind of looking forward to that with this league. Now, the other leagues, on the other hand, that's where the stress is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, if I wasn't playing with a bunch of sharks in the UDPL, I think I'd have an easier time trading away players. But I think they all know that I'm kind of in that trading. I'm trying to get rid of these players, which in retrospect, I'm honestly not. I'm okay with hanging on to them.
Yeah, you tried to trade out of a hole, but then the hole got bigger.
Yeah.
In essence. And that's been the story of your offseason with Rodgers and Watson, and just everything has gone absolutely sideways, when you didn't think it was going to happen. But Tyler, let's talk trade. What do you got to get for Antonio Brown? What do you got to get?
I mean, honestly, not much. I'd have to look at your team. I know you have Eskridge. So, I mean, I actually did you saw that in the listener league. Jason and I made a trade, Eskridge for Antonio Brown, 1-for-1.
I saw that.
Yeah, just
I don't know if I look at my team and I'm like, I feel like I could win, but I don't know if I have the oomph that I need to get me over the top.
Mike said, can you announce your future trades? I'm not looking to lose my whole team if I can help it. Well, there you go. Dwayne Eskridge. And honestly, I think it's only for UDPL. So if I make any trades in that, I will announce them on Twitter.
Don't you also have Irv Smith in the UDPL?
I do. I have Irv Smith.
Let's talk Irv Smith. What happened with him today, Tyler?
He's having surgery on his meniscus. Yeah. So it's not a major surgery, which going back to Dobbins, there was a lot of hope in me, like thinking, okay, they're taking a long time to announce this injury. They didn't announce it usually when they do, but I think it's because of it may be actually a little worse than what we think. I mean, there's talks of the LCL with Dobbins, which would be elongated recovery. I mean, think Nick Chubb, think players like that. I mean, it's not a good injury, but I'm not sure if he escaped that or not. They're going to find out more extent to that. But going back to Irv, it's more of a minor, the meniscus. It could be worrisome in the future. I mean, you could have a little more, I don't know how to explain it. A little more worries about like ACL or planning or having more injuries with the meniscus. You see that in players, but I'm not too worried. He's easily going to miss week 1. Yeah, but I think he'll be back week 2, week 3. So, I mean, I didn't lose him for the whole season. That's a positive way to look at it. And yeah, so Irv, the breakout's going to have to wait a week. And even though they play the Bengals, which would have been a perfect breakout opportunity.
That's true. I think, a name to keep an eye on too is in your tight end premium leagues. If Tyler Conklin is available, I think he's worth a speculative ad just in case. Yes. Just in case Irv misses multiple weeks. I know they like Tyler Conklin a lot. He's big, he's tall, he's athletic. He got a pretty decent amount of targets last year late in the season. So he's going to be their guy. They don't really have much else at tight end after Irv. So I think Tyler Conklin could be Pete Davidson.
I mean, Davidson Zach, right? Is their rookie they got that they really like. Yeah. But I mean, they really like Michael Pruitt too, and we all saw that happen. So
Michael Pruitt's been on like 78 teams.
Yeah, it could be another, fluff
your boy Harrison Smith got a big extension today.
Yeah, I mean,
Vikings for life. It looks like.
Yeah, well deserved.
Hey, I want to go on to one of your other UDPL team members because it's just tough luck, Tyler. Deandre Swift. Not a lot of positive things from Dan Campbell about Deandre Swift this week. He pretty much said that if he could play, maybe he'd play. I don't really know what his role is. DeAndre Swift, I like Swift in redraft because his value is getting better and better because people are off of him. But in Dynasty, I actually had the thought a couple of weeks ago in that bar tab league of maybe I can move Dobbins for Swift straight up. And of course now I probably could have, and now Dobbins tore his ACL, but whatever. It happens. James, if you have Swift, are you nervous, or are you seeing this as a potential all right, the Swift owner might be nervous. Let me try to get me some DeAndre Swift on my team.
I have probably about 3 or 4 shares of DeAndre Swift in Dynasty, and I'm not afraid at all. I mean, the way running backs are already dropping like flies, I'm holding on to them. But I can see where there can be some scarcity level to DeAndre Swift. He hasn't really been in training camp practicing. We don't know if he's going to be able to play week 1. He shouldn't be your RB1 on your team anyway.
No.
You should have a better anchor than that, unless, you're like Tyler and you sell everything for DeAndre Swift last season. But yeah, I'm a little nervous, but not enough to where I'm going to sell him. If I know that there's a Swift owner out there that even senses that they're a little nervous about Swift, I'm going to go try to acquire him for sure.
Yeah, it almost feels like one of those situations where like everybody's down on him, the coach is not saying things, and then the season starts and like, oh, he's touching the ball 20 times and he's fine. Like, I mean, Detroit's not going to be a great offense. I mean, Jamal Williams, like, yeah, he's serviceable. But outside of that, like, I don't know. DeAndre Swift to me seems like he's just going to be fine. So I've been buying the dip in redraft leagues and getting him commonly as sometimes my RB3, depending on how running back heavy I'm going in the draft. And man, I got to tell you, in redraft, these running backs, man, it falls off a cliff super fast. So you got to have at least one, if not two, studs in the beginning of your draft, or else it's rough. And wide receiver, there's plenty of those, so you'll be good.
So I want to piggyback off the Swift news. There is reports out of camp, if you really dig deep, that Swift is actually dominating in the practice season, and the reason why they said he might not play week 1 is because of conditioning. He wasn't in quote unquote game shape. But if you saw his dad, you would know his dad would legit make him just get in shape in like maybe 8 hours. He would just
so he'd get in shape pretty swiftly, is what you're saying?
Swiftly,
Ooh.
yes, get swiftly.
Get swiftly. All right. Mike in the chat says, would the Vikings make a move for Ertz? I don't think they would. I don't think this is a big enough injury. And plus, the Vikings have 0.05 cap room. I don't think they'd be able to take on Ertz unless they traded out some bum that was making a butt ton of money. So I don't see that happening. I could see the Vikings.
Nice to say about Anthony Barr.
I think the Vikings would make a move on a veteran tight end that gets cut here in the next handful of days. I think that would be the move if they were really concerned about Irv Smith. And if he's only going to be out for a week or two, they can sustain and they'll be just fine. So I don't think that will be a problem.
Yeah. More targets with KJ Osborne.
Yeah. Jonah Osborne's son. So the next bit of news I want to get to is starting quarterbacks are being named finally. In Denver, it's not Drew Lock season, at least yet. It's Teddy Bridgewater season. So I know a lot of people have been super high on Jerry Jeudy this year. People were down on Cortland Sutton until they saw him play last night, and they were like, oh, he looks like Cortland Sutton again. Cool. Obviously with Denver, it's the too many mouths to feed corollary with, Jeudy, you got Sutton, you've got KJ Hamler, who I know Tyler's a big fan of, and we saw him pop in the preseason. You've got Noah Fant. You've got a couple of running backs. So I think Teddy is set up for fantasy success here. But what does it mean for the pass catchers around him, James? Are you, I think it's going to be a share of Jeudy and Sutton. What about Fant? What about these other guys? Like, how would you, prognosticate this Denver passing offense?
Are you talking about other than the top 2 wide receivers?
No, including them.
Including them? Well, I'm high on both Jeudy and Cortland Sutton right now, and you were getting them at value if you had drafted before that game or before Teddy was announced the starter for a little solidity on who was actually going to throw them the ball. I like what I saw from Cortland Sutton. I read a tweet from Stefania Bell, how she showed him pivoting off of that side of his body to the other way, just a quick shift to catch the ball away from him. I love it. I think he's a great value. Like I said, Noah Fant, I'm iffy about Noah Fant. I really am. Like, it seems like he's the one that always has a problem with injury.
Forever dinged
is Noah Fant. I'm starting to come back around on Melvin Gordon as a late snag. Like I said, I had 2 redrafts today. Melvin Gordon was there in the 13th round.
He's another
I'll take him
cheap
as
acquirable piece, like Sterling Shepard too.
Running back 4 in a redraft league, and if I have him as on a dynasty league, you're not really going to get too much value for him, so you might as well just play him until he dies. And he's going to be the starter in that offense. We don't know how fast Javonte Williams is going to take away carries from him. If anything, he's going to get at least 15 touches a game, and I can rely on that.
They did sit him this last preseason game.
Yeah.
And played Melvin Gordon to see what he's got and to get him reps. So that
maybe he wanted
to
play. I mean, all players want to play, you know that. But yeah, KJ Hamler, I love KJ Hamler. I can see him in that Curtis Samuel type of role in the slot with Teddy B. And I'm a fan of Teddy B, man. His completion percentage last year for the Carolina Panthers was 69%.
Very nice.
So if he does that in Denver with those weapons in the passing game, then we're good to go. But I'm afraid that Vic Fangio is going to run the ball too much. If Fangio runs the ball too much, then it could be a different story. But right now, I'm on board with it.
Yeah, I mean, for Teddy to have 3 top 30 receivers last year with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Curtis Samuel, plus Mike Davis was an RB2, like he showed that, like, hey, you know what? He can support that type. And I think, the offensive line in Denver is pretty good too. They got a good defense. I think the team's going to be sneaky, maybe a playoff contender this year. With Teddy Bridgewater and the pieces that they have. Yeah, absolutely tough division. Any thoughts on Bridgewater, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm not gonna jump on that boat because I've seen it multiple times. I've watched it up here, and to get your hopes
so many years ago, though,
and to put your hopes and dreams as a quarterback too, say in Superflex in Teddy. Yeah, I'm not about that life because you know what? I have enough stress the way it is. I'm not feeling like 1 week I'm going to have 18 points and next week I could have 8. So, I mean, that's the up and down roller coaster you got to go with Teddy. Yeah, he may not turn the ball over as much, but you know what? His average passes beyond the line of scrimmage may not be as far. Like
so on the flip side of that, talking about far passes past the line of scrimmage, Jameis Winston has been named the starter in New Orleans, which as fantasy players, that's exactly what the hell we wanted to have happen because
talk about polar opposites.
Yeah, I mean, Taysom Hill, I wasn't about that life. Like, he's just a thorn in the side of fantasy owners if he was to be the quarterback. And Jameis, he came out in this last preseason game and was absolutely firing downfield to Marquez Callaway. He looked great. He's got a great offensive line. We know Michael Thomas is going to miss some time. But they've got Callaway. They did have an injury to Adam Troutman. So if you picked up Juwan Johnson on your dynasty waivers, you're doing it right.
Troutman's okay. He avoided major injuries, so that's a huge plus.
Still like Juwan Johnson at tight end. He's athletic. He's big. Did
he play basketball though? That's the big question.
I will have to find out just to be sure.
Is he named after a fish?
What? I've never heard that one.
Troutman.
You're gonna have to explain this one to us.
Troutman.
He's a trout, man.
Come on, man. Trout.
Oh my
God,
man.
Anyway, so I love Jameis I think this tide raises all boats for the New Orleans Saints. You can feel healthy about taking Kamara or having him on your team. Even now there's been some Tony Jones. He's been picked up in a ton of leagues because Sean Payton said Tony Jones is their RB2. I don't know that I buy that. Latavius Murray's still good. It'll be interesting to see if he makes the team because Latavius Murray's making a lot of money. And the Saints are another one of those teams that they always kind of figure out the cap, but they might be up against it too. So maybe Latavius gets moved. Maybe he goes to Baltimore. That would actually be kind of a fun fit. But I know a lot of people have been scrambling to the waiver wires. Corey says Latavius Murray to Baltimore. A lot of people are scurrying to the waiver wires and picking up Tony Jones. They still have Ty Montgomery there. But just Jameis, him being the starting quarterback there makes me feel so much better about everything involved in New Orleans. Would you agree, Tyler?
Yeah, I would actually completely agree. I have some Kamara shares that are very thankful for this because Jameis is not scared to spread the ball around. And we all know what he does with tight ends. He likes his tight ends. So, yeah, Troutman, thank God he escaped injury because that is, guess what, another UDPL player I have. And I thought I lost that day.
Oh, I just got breaking news. Torn ministers.
I mean, as much as I did not believe in Zach Wilson, I did make a trade for him, and he's been the one bright spot on my roster that I have. So,
he slipped in the shower and broke his arm today. I didn't know if you knew.
Yeah, that's weird because usually his mom loofahs him, but that's weird.
It's true. So speaking of quarterbacks, there was a trade as well. Gardner Minshew, who was competing to be the starter in Jacksonville.
God,
I hate Urban Meyer more
worst coach in the league right now.
What's the over under? Urban Meyer 2 years.
Oh, under. I think.
What's his contract?
It's like a 6 year.
Is it 6 year deal?
Yeah.
Khan has so much money, he doesn't care.
Khan doesn't care.
No. Khan, he'll walk away. Urban Meyer is not going to last 2 seasons, is my prediction.
I don't think he can make it past the 2-year mark. I think that's an under.
Okay, so here's my guess. You've already heard rumblings that the players aren't happy with him. They don't like his style of coaching
because he sucks.
And I honestly, if say Trevor Lawrence were to speak up and was like, "Hey, I'm not Khan will have no issue saying that's it." Like, because Trevor Lawrence is your head coach pretty much. He is the guy that's going to make every front office decision for you. So if Trevor Lawrence says, "I'm not fitting in with this coach," he's gone. And I would not be shocked if that's by week 14.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. But Gardner Minshew gets traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think this means anything for Jalen Hurts. He'll leave for medical by 22 cents. Yeah, I mean, that was the thing with Urban Meyer when it got hot and he was in Ohio State. He's like, I'm taking I have medical issues. He's just a fraud to me. Like, he's had all this talent on these teams. Now, I get it. You have to recruit some. But to me, he's just not a good head coach. But anyway, so Gardner Minshew gets traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for a late pick. I think this is a great move for the Eagles. I mean, they've got Joe Flacco on a 1-year deal. They've got Hurts, obviously. And then Minshew, he comes in. He's the 2 or the 3. The thing is, you're trading for a quarterback that's making like next to no money because he was a late round pick. So that's the perfect kind of quarterback you want on your depth chart. I think if anything, this didn't mean, there were some people out there like, oh, Minshew's going to push Hurts. Hurts has that team, man. Hurts is rallying those guys. They believe in Jalen Hurts. Hurts is the guy. I know there was a little bit of smoke about Deshaun Watson to the Eagles. Now we hear Deshaun Watson to the Dolphins. Like, I just don't give a crap about Deshaun Watson right now.
For 3 firsts, let alone.
There's no way a team pays 3 firsts for a guy that might not play or be suspended for God knows how long. It's not going to happen.
Let me rewind the tape real fast and let me jump in here real fast about this Jalen Hurts, Gardner Minshew thing, because I live in the corner of the Eagles' nest in South Jersey, and even
with the
ESPN,
Giants jersey on.
Yeah, I'm from New York.
He's hiding.
I'm not afraid. Anyway, all the radio talk shows around here, ESPN Philly is saying, "Oh, well, Minshew's going to push Hurts. Minshew's going to push Hurts." No way are they bringing in Minshew a week and a half before the season starts to take over for Jalen Hurts. So any of you Eagle fans that are listening and regurgitating that nonsense, better go check your talents levels, because that is just totally fictitious. All right, back to your program. Sorry for interrupting. I was upset about that.
So I do want to say the thing about Minshew is he's a perfect backup for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is the Konami code type quarterback. He's a running quarterback and all that. What's best behind that? Somebody who can stabilize an offense and get you through games.
And he's kind of mobile too. You don't have to change, like, you can put Minshew in there. He's a sneaky 200-300 yards rushing in his rookie year when he played.
The thing with Minshew is he's not going to lose you games. He takes care of the ball. He's a game manager. You saw that 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions his rookie year. That's what's nice about Minshew being a backup quarterback. Can Minshew become a Fitzmagic later on in his career? Maybe. And I think that's kind of a path that Minshew has, but he is going to be one of those backups that people are going to want because of his stability and just his all around decentness, we'll say, to kind of just not really make the team fall apart. People have confidence to put him in if, say, there is an injury to a Konami code quarterback like Jalen Hurts.
So if you are the Jalen Hurts owner in Dynasty Superflex in particular, are you trying to go out and buy Minshew right now?
No. I would wait till mid-season or so. I mean, right now with all these down. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, right now with all this stuff happening, you kind of want to keep it low key. And kind of the same thing with me. It's kind of the opposite with UDPL. Like, Stafford mid-season could go for a treasure chest of money, and right now I could be getting just a little bit of that. So, I mean, trade values are going to swing in season and kind of going through the week. So, yeah, like Doug said, more injuries are going to happen. So maybe kind of check in once that Minshew news dies down.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably the right move. Last but not least, in the news front, another quarterback news. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said Dak Prescott and his shoulder is good to go for the start of the season. He's had no restrictions in practice, it looks like, this week. So yeah, if you downgraded any Cowboys, you downgraded Dak. I didn't think this was going to be a big issue. So it's pretty much proceed as normal with the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. If you went out and traded for Dak and got a little bit of a discount, then great, you're doing it right. But Dak looks like he's going to be fine. The Cowboys could lead the NFL in scoring. They've got the depth. They've got the talent all over the place. So if you own a lot of Cowboys, including Michael Gallup, who we talked about earlier, you're doing it right. So go ahead.
Did any of you guys see Hard Knocks this past week with the drone flying?
I saw the drone shot on Twitter, but I was on vacation. I didn't have a chance to watch it.
Goodness. Talk about amazing television. I was blown away. Like,
it was cool.
I never thought I would sit there and watch a 5-minute clip of a drone flying through something. But
yeah, the first time I saw that it was in a bowling alley, and it was awesome. There was the same.
You went on vacation in a bowling alley?
Yeah, man. I bowl a candlepin. So we do it in New England. No, I saw that type of drone footage in a bowling alley the first time I saw that type of shot. And it was awesome. Like the door opens, it flies down the lane. There's all sorts of stuff going on. It's flying around. It's a beautiful, beautiful shot. I hope they start doing that in movies. Maybe the new Matrix. I guess the trailer just came out for Matrix 4. What is it called? Not Resolutions, Revelations, something with a rev and an Asian. I don't know what it is. Whoa. But yeah, so that'd be cool to see shots like that in movies, which I think will probably be the next step. Because let's be honest, like movies, they need some new technology every so often to kind of freshen it up, like we saw with The Matrix or like Inception, or movies like that. We need some, contraception. We need some, we need some fresh visuals to
Not
kind of
that movie.
Get us going.
Fresh visuals. Just bringing it back to football. Zeke looked amazing in that footage as well for Hard Knocks, so you need to go check that out as well.
Yeah, remember when everyone was off Zeke?
Yeah, remember
you
last
remember
year?
That when he was around in redraft, he was like
terrible.
a round 2 pick, and everyone's like, "Oh, get rid of Zeke, he's awful." And now Zeke's like a top 5 pick again.
He looks great. He said, "Hey, rookie, watch this. This is for you." And he takes off and runs a 30-yard touchdown to the house.
Yeah, and then let's not forget, me being down on Zeke and saying his value is kind of stingent and. Yeah, you know what happened when I said, the only way his value can go up is if he
heard you.
No, remember, like I'm like, the only way his value can go up is if, say, he shed like 10 pounds and gained an explosiveness back. Well, look what happened.
It looks that way. It looks like he lost a little bit of weight.
I'm very legit cooking up a ton of crow for this offseason. Yeah.
Well,
Zeke style, just scooping it in.
Eating all the crow. There was another one of those UDPL guys you had that you traded away. Yeah, that team, man.
Yep.
Oh, man.
If you could turn back time like Cher, you'd probably not do some of the things that you did, but that's okay. It happens.
It's been a rough offseason for that league.
Yeah. You know what? Who hasn't had a rough offseason? That's Trophy Smack. They've been killing it in the game. We met Matt out in Ohio at the Midwest Expo in the beautiful downtown Canton area, at least for a couple blocks. Trophy Smack. James is flaunting the ring that you can get for free when you use code DHHRING when you order a belt, a grill, or a trophy. You don't necessarily have to play fantasy football. They've got other sports on there too. There's fantasy owners for all sorts of sports. Fantasy football is obviously the predominant one, but there's fantasy hockey, baseball, basketball. There's fantasy NASCAR. There's fantasy
golf.
Frisbee golf. There's fantasy golf. There's fantasy everything. Fantasy podcast hosts. Pick me 101. That's all I'm saying. No, there's fantasy for everything, and they've got you covered over at Trophy Smack. So if you do order a trophy, belt, and or grill, use code DHHRING. Get that free $60 ring that James was looking like Vanna White over there.
I have 2 of them for the 2 years that I won my home league.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe he'll get it.
And I used the DHH code. That was back when I just started listening to you guys. I was like, oh, I won. I need to go get those.
See, it just goes to show if you support the podcast, maybe you'll be a co-host someday. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, you have to work for it.
I mean, I won't be here probably sooner or later because I'm just going to be sulking in the corner in a dark room.
You're drowning in your own tears.
Yes.
From your UDPL league.
What's the worst way to go? Drowning. Oh, I agree. In my own tears.
In my own tears. Just in a pool of tears.
Face down in
self-caused drowning.
Oh my God, that's gonna cover some news. Anybody? What else are we talking about? We don't have a show sheet. Tyler is making excuses. We're a hot mess this week.
I mean, let's talk about kind of my situation and what
I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Like what you would do in a situation where like you did come up with these injuries. And
I'd go full Tim Keller. I'm out.
Sell them. Sell the farm, rebuild. No,
Like,
I mean, it all depends on the roster.
Yeah, I was going to say you've got really good, stable, wide receivers, and you feel like you could push for the title. What are some running backs and prices you guys are going for due to these injuries? Because, I mean, there are plenty of running backs out in the league that could be kind of a buy low situation. Like, say, a Michael Carter is getting some negative buzz around him lately.
Mm-hmm. Well, James mentioned Melvin Gordon earlier. I think he's one.
Melvin Gordon's definitely one.
What would you guys pay for Melvin Gordon in a dynasty?
I'd probably pay a late second.
For
Melvin Gordon. I think I'd be okay with either of those.
I mean, if I really needed somebody, maybe a mid-second. I wouldn't go higher than a second, though.
Now, say you're loaded at receiver. I'm not going to name names. What is a running back you guys would want to shoot the moon for that you could possibly get for, say, a Jamar Chase, who is struggling right now, couldn't even catch a screen pass. If somebody was rebuilding, what would you kind of go to? Like, okay, I got Jamar Chase,
Javonte Williams.
Javonte, okay. Now,
I think you might be able to get you might have to do Jamar Chase and maybe a little sprinkle to get a guy like Eckler.
Okay, that's a really good running back to get.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying in a league to go Chase plus to get CEH. I don't know how much plus I'm willing to give because you kind of imagine like Chase and CEH are more equal.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's another one that I would go after. James, you got a running back, like say if you're willing to give up Chase with your depth, what's a younger running back you want to go for?
With depth, like I mentioned, Javonte Williams is definitely one that I would want to go for. I think they're going to build around him. Melvin Gordon last year in his contract. Another guy for Jamar Chase. Man, you're putting me on the spot here.
I know. No, okay. What kind?
You know what? Not for nothing. I might actually go after like ETN or J.K. Dobbins if I'm in a rebuild.
That's what I was going to ask.
Maybe I try to go, if I'm in a rebuild, maybe I go to that J.K. Dobbins or ETN owner, or even now I don't want to do Cam Akers because we have no idea what's going to happen with that. But J.K. Dobbins or ETN, those two guys, I'd take Jamar Chase and see if I can get some kind of pick value and one of those running backs for Jamar Chase right now.
Yep. I know, Doug, in Trade Addict 7, we saw Dobbins get moved plus a second for Miles Sanders. Now that was a move because the owner of Dobbins, he needed to get a boost because he's going for the title against Doug and I, because we are going to dominate this year.
Yeah, I have a stack team.
So yeah, I mean, moves like that are a good way to kind of pivot. I mean, Antonio Gibson's another one that's getting some kind of negative buzz because he's not getting that third down work.
I think his value is so high right now.
So high right now, you're not going to get. I don't think you'd be able to pull that off.
I think we can blame Mike Wright for that one because Mike Wright has been driving that train since last year, and he hasn't gone off it. But he did admit he is a little worried about the third down usage. He saw J.D. McKissick get some run, but I do want to pivot. Let's pivot a little bit here. Let's go to aforementioned J.K. Dobbins and Travis Etienne and Cam Akers. Now, we'll start with Etienne. What is something you would give up to get Etienne with his? What is it? What do you have again?
The Liz Frank injury.
Liz Frank. So the Liz Frank, he should be recovered in time for the 2022 season, and I mean,
Gibson had the same injury last year.
That's
true.
Although
all Liz Franks aren't,
Yes, he did not have the surgery. Now,
I'm not a huge ATN guy. I'm scared of Urban Meyer, to be completely honest.
Well, what if he's gone? What if Etienne got hurt just so he didn't have to deal with Urban Meyer?
Ooh, conspiracy theorist.
I mean, he stopped playing in 2020.
I mean, I guess, in a Superflex league, ATN was a late first, right? He was like usually 107. Well, he
Yeah,
usually went after Zach
108.
Wilson. 108 was the sweet spot for ATN usually in Superflex. I guess what I would give up if I had an early second and another pick. I don't know. I'm just not as high as on ETN as a lot of people are. You got to have a little bit of a discount there because he's missing a whole year.
You know what? Right now, I'm willing to give up a late first. I don't care.
I think that's the money.
Yeah, I think
even if you have Etienne, and say, Doug, you're not a big fan and you have him, the 2022 first with the class kind of looking between. I mean,
could be better. Yeah, we don't know.
The receivers look like they could be great once again.
They always do.
We are filling the league up with dominating receivers, which is awesome to see because we needed that refill to come.
Also, quarterbacks.
Yes.
I was watching I'm not big into college footballs, admittedly. I watched Florida State, and that's about it. But I was watching the Heisman preview show on ESPN while I was eating lunch yesterday, I think, or the day before.
What'd you have
on vacation? I had egg salad sandwich, some yogurt.
Nice.
It's good. I love egg salad, especially on a hot day, nice and cold. No, I just bought it at Market Basket. Nah, I didn't. I don't.
Did you get all the accoutrements?
It's pretty much just I don't put any of the other stuff in it. It's just egg salad, like eggs, mayo.
Just mayo and eggs.
Eggs and salad, right?
Eggs and salad.
So I'm watching and I was like, Jesus, there's a lot of college quarterbacks right now. Like in Superflex leagues, the next couple of years, there's going to be there's an influx of talent. And we've seen it at wide receiver. We've seen it over the last few years at running back. We're starting to see it in quarterback. There's a ton of talent coming into the league, and it's insane.
Spencer Rattler, quarterback 1. But yeah, there's 4 to 5 first-round quarterbacks in this draft. When we were looking at it, maybe 3 in around early of the summer. We're like, okay, there's probably 3 that could be, Solis, Rattler, and the guy from North Carolina.
Howell.
Yeah. Those 3 were the hot names. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, you're going to have a bunch of quarterbacks, which I am just firmly on draft a first-round quarterback in your rookie drafts. I mean, year in and year out, we always oh, no, Mac Jones, he ain't going to be any. You know what Mac Jones is worth?
Good tonight.
He's probably 106, 105. And Mac
Zach
Jones
Wilson.
right now is probably 105 right now. Maybe in rookie drafts, 106.
Mm-hmm.
In Superflex, 12 teamers. Yeah, Zach Wilson, he's probably 104, 103. Trey Lance, 102, 104, 103. Justin Fields, 102, 103. And Trevor Lawrence looked dominating tonight. Trevor Lawrence looked
he looked nice.
what we expected. So quarterbacks. I think there's a good tight end in next year's class. So the 2022 class could be deep, but running back wise, if you are really on the running backs, going back to Etienne, if you still need a running back, Etienne could be a good piece to go get because, like we said, Meyer could be gone. And if Meyer's gone, they're going to bring in a prolific offensive coach, is my guess, to fit with Trevor. There's 3 college coaches that could probably slide in with Trevor and just change that whole offense. That defense looks like it could be trash anyways, but I don't think that's going to be salvageable. Bring in an offensive coach, and that's what I want to see for Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
It's risky business because when you turn around and you think about ETN next year, now we're giving James Robinson a full extra season to gain more value,
or to fall on his face,
or to fall on his face, and Carlos Hyde, be a running back 1. No, that's not going to happen. But there's always that chance that James Robinson just takes over mainstream, and the value on ETN is even lower come mid-season.
Yeah, and that could be a possibility, but the thing with Etienne is hopefully he's used in that pass catching role that we all expected him to be in. So that is the hopes. Going to Dobbins. Dobbins is an ACL. It looks like ACL, PCL was the injury for Dobbins.
Pretty sure.
His recovery time will probably he'll be ready for week 1. ACLs aren't as major as we used to think they are. After AP pretty much dominated the world after his, Dobbins seems like a guy that's going to fight and get healthy and just push because he's just one of those guys that you just really want to root for. And
he just shouldn't have been out there.
That tackle was,
it was mean.
Yeah, don't go that
He got
low.
sandwiched. He got sandwiched.
Yeah,
and he went low. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, Dobbins tried to cut. The guy went on his back. He had the plant with his foot, and that's where the injury came from. Compton.
Yeah, and the guy behind him came in and just hit him in the kneecap and behind the kneecap.
Yeah, I mean, it's the game of football. I mean, you're going to get tackled. It can happen anytime to anybody. So, yeah, with Dobbins, what are you guys looking at for players or picks? Like, if you were like, I want to go acquire J.K. Dobbins, what are you guys looking to possibly give up for him?
I think I'm in the same boat as I was for ETN. Like, I'm not.
I was just gonna say the same thing because Dobbins. It's not like he's a 3-down starter. Gus Edwards is there long term.
He got hurt on a pass catcher, or on a pass.
I still think he's worth a first round pick. Like,
yeah,
I wish he was going to gain more value this season. That's what I was hoping on. Him taking that next jump, because right now he was considered like an RB2. Yeah, and I wanted him to take that next step and almost be like a Dalvin Cook, where he can run and catch and do everything out of the backfield. And that's who he really is. We saw it in Ohio State, not so much the pass catching, but we know what he can do as far as pass catching. We saw it last year. And I was hoping he would take that next step. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a year for it, but I'm still willing to pay a first for Dobbins.
I'd rather give up a first for Dobbins than ETN.
I 100%. Actually very much, 100% agree with that. Yeah. I mean, I trust the Ravens front office to stick with him over Jags sticking with Etienne after 2021. Now going to our last one before I hand it off to one of you guys to talk about something or to call it. Cam Akers. I mean, the talent flashed last year, but it's an Achilles. And I mean, there's no other scenario we've seen like this.
Marlon
with a
Mack
young
is
player.
The closest.
Yes.
We haven't even seen him in a game.
We haven't seen him in action yet.
Yeah.
So you got a guy who's 22 years old, has athletic talent beyond anybody who's had this injury really at his age. What are you guys kind of looking to possibly give for Akers?
I'd give up a mid-second because I'm a Florida State fan. I would give up a mid-second because I'm going to take a mid-second because usually your mid-seconds, you're not going to get a running back of Cam Akers' athleticism with a mid-second round
receiver.
Yeah. So I would give up a mid-second for Cam Akers. I don't know if the Cam Akers owner would do that unless, they were just super frustrated. I have Akers in a couple of spots, and I probably wouldn't sell him for that because I'm willing to take the risk. And I'm a Florida State fan. I love Cam Akers. But I'm willing to take the risk that he can beat the odds and come back and play at a level that is better than a mid-second round pick.
Yeah, I'm not selling Cam Akers. If I'm going to try to acquire him, I mean, now's the time to do it. And maybe that's why Tyler's asking the question. But yeah, I think I'm on that second. I don't think he's that first round, like we talked about with Dobbins or ETN, not with the injury, because we don't have enough history on rehab in that injury. Like we have is Marlon Mack, and we have Deontay Foreman, who actually came back from that injury and has has played football after that injuy, and that's pretty much it.
Foreman didn't have the athletic ability like Akers does.
Correct.
or Foreman was a mid-third, so he doesn't have that draft capital. And same with Mack. Mack was a late 4th round pick. So, I mean, that's the issue with Cam Akers is you see this athletic freak. I mean, even if some athleticism goes away,
I think he may lose a little bit of a boost. He may lose a little bit of a cut. And that was his game. Elusive, sneak in between the tackles, and then explode. Yeah, absolutely.
For me,
at Florida State, it was because he had no offensive line.
Last year, the offensive line for the Rams wasn't that great either until it was towards the end of the season.
What I saw last year, though, is he was more of an all-around back. It didn't seem like the explosive, like maybe it was because he was nervous and he was a rookie, but I saw more of just I don't know, like he didn't have the crazy acceleration that he had at Florida State because maybe he's taking his time. But if he can, like I said, he's going to lose some explosiveness. But even if he does, at a 5-star athlete, you could still be pretty good. So for me, I actually traded for Akers after this injury. I gave up Miles Sanders, who you guys all know me. I like Kenneth Gainwell. I don't know if they're going to stick with Miles Sanders in that offense.
That insider info.
I think Boston Scott is the number 2 right now.
Yeah. And I mean,
sure, he's looking
good. They're going to use all of them.
They did release Kerryon Johnson.
Yes. And I mean, they're going to probably use all these running backs. We all know that offense carried a bunch of running backs for the Colts. But for me, I gave up Miles Sanders, and I got Akers, a third, Diami Brown, and Mecole Hardman when the injury happened. So
Hardman's value's gone up.
Yeah, and Diami Brown too.
I like Diami a lot. Yeah. So speaking of Rams backfield, we didn't mention it at the top that Sony Michel got traded from the Patriots to the Rams this week. Yeah. We forgot about that little nugget. There's been so much going on, we completely forgot. So the Patriots received a 4th round pick and I think a 6th or 7th round pick for Michel, who is in the last year of his rookie deal. Obviously, we all know he was drafted in the 1st round ahead of Nick Chubb. I hate you going with Patriots. But then I digress. I think this is a problem for Jarrell Henderson. I saw Jarrell Henderson in a redraft get picked in like the late 3rd round, and I almost pooped my pants. I was like, who is reaching for Jarrell Henderson here? Because that dude, you want to talk about constantly nicked up like Noah Fant. Jarrell Henderson sneezes and he's got a busted finger or a foot ailment. Sony Michel is going to be that sneaky guy who's just a constant, steady guy. Xavier Jones hasn't done anything to separate himself. And he also got hurt. And Jake Funk, the white Christian McCaffrey, I heard, which was funny because he is white. Funk out of my face. So Sony Michel, I think, is, if you want to talk about a veteran running back that you can get probably pretty affordable, I think Sony Michel is one of those guys.
I think he's going to be more
looked better last year than he did the years previous.
He's going to be more of a thorn in your side if you are the Sony owner. So if someone wants to go out and acquire him and comes up to you and offers you a deal, yes, sure, go and sell him. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities that Michel is going to get at least 150 touches this season. I can see that happening. And, you know, Darrell Henderson, we saw what he did last year. He faltered when he had it all on his shoulders. He could not handle a full workload. That's why they were going to rely on Xavier Jones.
He was on pace against Buffalo to have a massive game.
And now they go out and acquire Sony Michel. They just want to win. They just want to win a Super Bowl. They don't care about the running backs.
Oh, Darrell Henderson looks like Eddie Lacy. That's fair.
He does.
Same number.
Yes.
Same hair.
After Doug said something last year and how he looked thicker and stuff and I was eating, it's like when somebody tells you something about yourself or somebody else and it's just magnified. That's all I see now is Eddie Lacy when he runs the ball because their running styles are very similar too. So, Doug, that is actually good. And there's a good chance I might go try to make some Sony Michel offers in some of those leagues.
I bet you could get Sony third.
2/3, a second. I mean, depending on where you feel your team's at, a late second is nothing.
Do you remember that draft when Michel was a top 5 pick in Superflex?
I would give him a 104 for Sony. That's fair.
Yeah,
late second's okay.
Especially with the injuries that have happened. I mean, Sony Michel isn't, the picture of health himself.
No.
But because honestly, I think the Patriots tried to make him something he's not. We saw him in college. He looked leaner in college. He looked elusive.
Athletic and elusive. And in the NFL, it was like, where'd that go?
He got hurt.
I think Bill's like, hey, go hit the weight room. We need you to be our first and second down back. We got James White here. Gain some weight. Be a power back. And it's just like, that's the kind of feel I got from it. And then last year, like you said, Doug, I saw a different Sony Michel. I saw a more electric runner, a guy who is decisive and hit the holes.
Yeah, there's some next gen stats about Sony Michel that were floating around after the trade about like yards per opportunity. He was like top 10 in the NFL. And I watch every Patriots game. So like when I say like Sony Michel looked different last year, he really did. Like he looked more explosive and he looked like he was more decisive. Now, he still doesn't look like what he looked at in college.
No.
But he looked better than he did in his years previous with the Pats. So, I had a feeling we had a dynasty auction go on after our we did like a 25-player auction with a Zoom meeting, and then we just kind of threw it online to do the rest of the players. And I got Sony Michel. It's like $135 million cap. I got him for $2 million because I said, you know what? Like, running backs are super expensive in this league, and if Michelle gets traded, his value automatically goes up. And it just so happens I have Darrell Henderson on that team too. So now I just locked up the Rams backfield for this year. Unfortunately, no Cam Akers, but so that was my fun Sony Michel story. Before we wrap up, this is totally off script, so give yourself a minute.
There is no script.
This is true. Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler.
Give me one or two guys that you've seen this preseason that you may be able to either pick up as free agents or guys that you can acquire super duper cheap that could have roles on their team this year. I'm going to start and give you guys a minute to think. So I was investing in Chris Evans in rookie drafts and usually getting him in the 5th round because I saw the depth chart behind Joe Mixon once they gave up on Giovanni Bernard. It was Travion Williams. There's Samaje Perine, but Evans is a 5-star recruit, went to Michigan, had some injuries. He's a little bit older, but he has looked really good this preseason. So I think that he could win the backup job over Samaje Perine because Evans can catch passes out of the backfield, which Perine, that's never been his thing. Some of us blew 1st-round picks on Samaje Perine years ago. I don't want to talk about it. But Chris Evans is one guy. And then, running back J.J. Taylor from the New England Patriots. I think he is the next in line after James White this year. So James White, he's in a 1-year deal, not making a ton of money. I think J.J., the Pats really like to return punts, and I think that he's going to be the replacement for James White in this backfield as a pass catcher going forward. So he's another guy that might be available for free in your drafts. And before I talked about Juwan Johnson earlier for New Orleans, there was listening to Evan Silva's podcast with Adam Levitan, and that was the first time I heard Juwan Johnson at tight end. I knew he was a wide receiver, but he was speculating that Troutman was going to actually stay in line and block more often than people think, and that Juwan Johnson may be a sneaky value in drafts. So I like Juwan Johnson. That's a guy I picked up in a couple of leagues this week. So, James, let's go to you. Give me just a couple names, and then we'll hit Tyler, and then we'll...
You want rookies specifically?
It doesn't matter if they're rookies. I mean, Juwan Johnson's not a rookie. Neither is J.J. Taylor.
I think people can go out and try to get Paris Campbell right now. Wentz coming back into that offense. I mean, he's very
T.Y. Hilton now for a bit.
No T.Y. Hilton. They're gonna need him as a field stretcher. All right, he has shown the speed. Michael Strachan, or Zach Pascal is still there, right? He's still on the roster. I know it's Michael Pittman that should be the main guy in that offense, but I mean, to take a shot on Campbell this late in his career, he's in his 3rd season. He's never seen a full season of production. We don't know. The owner that has him
never seen more than 2
either.
games.
Yeah, really. So I mean, you can go out and acquire him for pretty much a late 3rd or a 4th-round pick or pretty much nothing, and see if you have something and not worry about it if it doesn't go the right way.
I'll give you another Colt. If Oklahoma Doug is still watching, IDP Kwity Paye. He looks nasty. If you're looking for
it's a little late for that.
Oh my God! If you drafted him though in IDP leagues, he probably got drafted. Like, very nice. So Tyler, give me a guy or two that you wanna tout.
Okay, my first one is going to be Khalil Herbert. Man, that everything I've seen from him this offseason has been above what I expected, and I expect him to do well. He's a good running back that can do everything good. He's not going to be outstanding in one aspect, but he can do everything I think Montgomery can do at the
Jack
same
of all
level.
trades, master of none.
Yes, and I think Montgomery may have a little more wiggle to him, but Herbert has that full head of steam power that I don't think Montgomery has. Herbert is a great buy for me because we've all seen, we already seen Montgomery get hurt, and I think Herbert is the 2 in this offense right now. With
Damian Williams, come on now.
Damian Williams also got hurt. He's not the picture of health. I think Herbert is the guy that will kind of come out on top.
It's a nice take.
And God, I had another one in my head and I can't remember. Jalen Darden. I mean, you want somebody who
bunking up with Brady.
Yes, and who is, Antonio Brown has his issues, but he seems like he's okay.
What about Tyler Johnson though?
Man, what a fall from grace. That's sad because
they used him in his rookie year though. Brady actually threw to him, which was rare.
That is true, and I think they're gonna hope they can hold him. But with Darden playing outstanding, especially in special teams, and Darden and Bruce Arians, who does Darden remind you of? Oh, it's
J.J.
John
Nelson.
Brown. It's John
JJ
Brown.
Nelson. Yeah.
I mean, I think Darden is actually heavier than JJ Nelson. I think his leg,
my left leg is heavier than JJ Nelson.
So honestly, I think Darden is a fantastic get. There was one more.
Tutu. You know who's got a lot of catches this preseason?
Oh my God.
Tutu.
Oh man.
I mean, they really paid up for Tutu. He was a shock of the rookie draft or of the regular NFL draft. I mean, maybe Van Jefferson. Maybe Van Jefferson's the person we're all on that we shouldn't be. Maybe it's Tutu that's the player that's like, oh, it was there all along.
Matt Stafford's
not Deshaun Jackson. That's
with
for sure.
Tutu Atwell. Good things might happen. I'm just saying.
Oh man, there is honestly one more that I was like, this is perfect, and I can't remember it. I mean, oh, it's right there.
Well, he's thinking of it. I don't know if I can see
Kylan Hill
Atwell actually coming to fruition.
No, see, I see Kylan Hill. He looked good this preseason, but we got to remember he played against the threes. He was playing against a little weaker defense, and he's not getting past Aaron Jones or AJ Dillon. There is no way that's going to happen unless there's an injury, which can happen. But he is the third. He is the third running back, so there is a possibility to that. And I am
this other person, Tyler.
It's so true.
Not Hunter Renfrow, is it?
No, it's not. Keep talking, and maybe I can remember.
I mean, we talked about I think one last week with Jared Patterson. We mentioned him.
That's not it.
Who else? Late round running backs.
Jamar Jefferson looks
Jamar
great,
Jefferson is another guy.
Javian Hawkins to the Titans.
I mean, Atlanta has nobody in their backfield, and he didn't even make the team. That's saying a lot.
Yeah, that's not good.
I think I just got a trade offer for Allison, actually.
I was gonna. It was a wide receiver. I don't know if it was it.
Josh
no,
Palmer.
It wasn't. No, well, yeah. I mean, we're all on that.
Yeah.
Jalen Reagor could be a cheaper piece that could pan out. The hype's kind of died down after his one-hand catch. I mean, it's all back on Smith now. So, I mean, for a second rounder, you could maybe get Reagor.
Cheap buy. Yeah.
I want to know who this player is.
I can't
figure it out.
What about Brian Edwards?
I was gonna say I
love Brian Edwards.
I remember.
Was it Brian Edwards?
Stop.
No. Okay. Faye says you guys are also talking. Jordan Love. I've actually liked what I've seen in this offseason.
Took you that long
I know
to think
he's
of Jordan
making
Love.
mistakes. Yes, I know. Because I'm like, it's a receiver, but no.
Us.
I was talking to somebody yesterday. We went to a birthday party and we were talking about how Kellen Mond looked good and like how he kind of changes the aspect of the offense. That's the thing. Like the offenses are turning to this LaFleur kind of mixing it up. Peter LaFleur is actually the next LaFleur
strategy.
So, Jordan Love, he's probably going to be the starter there for Green Bay next year. Rodgers, I think is. I mean,
probably
who knows
be Drew
with
Lock,
him?
but okay.
I mean, I'm gonna have to say Jordan Love is better than Drew Lock. So I don't care. That may be hot takey, but Jordan Love, I've seen a lot more growth from. Yes, he's still kind of learning. It took Rodgers 4 years to learn to step on the field. I'm gonna give Jordan Love a pass. Year 3. I mean, that's 2 years sitting behind Aaron Rodgers and learning. We have not seen this in some time. Just because he hasn't played, it doesn't mean he's bad. This is actually probably good for Jordan Love. And Jordan Love could just, I mean, we all saw Aaron Rodgers fall on his face in preseasons when he was back behind Favre. And then he came in and lit the world on fire. So Jordan Love, I loved his arm talent coming out. He is a massive buy for me because he's going to be a starter. And me personally, I do think he's starting for Green Bay. And a starting quarterback in Superflex League is worth everything. So
Jordan Love was just because Green Bay is like, we spent a first round pick, we got to give him a chance. They're not going to burn the equity on it.
In this offense, how is he much different, like style wise, from Zach Wilson? I mean, throwing is a different story.
What if Devontae Adams isn't there?
That I think they'll be able to like. What if they draft a receiver in the first round after this year?
Like,
oh my god!
This year?
Yes, and the year before that, and the year before that. How funny and like a big slap in the face would that be to Rodgers? Like, oh, here, Jordan Love, we'll get you a receiver to pair up with Amari Rodgers.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
I think it all just falls back to like when you should go after a player. As soon as the hype leaves that player and it's cooled down, like that's the guys that we're really talking about here. Like we mentioned Rager. He was a hot topic last year, didn't perform. Then you just brought up Jordan Love. Jordan Love, I don't think he looked that good. I don't think he looked that good coming into the league. Maybe he will learn something behind Aaron Rodgers. And now would be the time to do it while Rodgers is still a Packer to make the move for Jordan Love. Other than that, like
maybe you learn to love him.
You may learn to love him. Exactly.
Maybe Rodgers will talk to his family. Who knows?
That's just like any other dynasty trade. When people aren't talking about that player, that's when you need to go out and acquire. You don't wait for the news to drop on that particular player or the player next to him.
David Njoku, go get him now as a throw-in. He'll be a starter somewhere next year.
I agree. And
Donald Parham, go and get him.
I already have him everywhere.
And honestly, Baker Mayfield may be a buy at price right now because his price could go up.
I agree. I like that take on Baker quite a bit. Yep. All right. Well, that is going to wrap us up this week for the Dynasty Happy Hour. Thank you again to Fantasy Points. Once again, 21 DHH 10, 90% of subs make the playoffs every year. And also Trophy Smack, code DHH Ring. Get that championship ring when you buy that belt, that grill, that trophy. DHH ring, get that free ring like James was sporting earlier. Good conversation, boys. I am ready for the regular season to start. It's going to be here in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks now, and I cannot wait to sit down on my butt, eat bad food, and watch football all day long with no kids. And that is pretty much my peak. That's peak Doug right there. Just enjoying myself and having a good old time. Maybe throwing the football at halftime out in the yard with one of my cousins. I did throw the football. I probably threw like 300 passes this week.
You see that mountain over there? I could throw it over that mountain.
I throw it over that mountain. Yeah, my shoulder's sore. I was throwing passes to kids, to adults. It was crazy. Great vacation week. It was hot. But enough about us. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you go on iTunes. Leave us a review. Give us 5 stars. You want to. We're awesome. We know this. But we'll always take your comments about, how Tyler's, really the anchor of the show, bringing us down with his hot takes and his team falling apart.
Anchor, like
dragging us through his puddle of tears.
I mean,
this episode.
I feel like anchor has a different meaning in other sentences. So I thought you were giving me a compliment at first. Then you just said dragging me down.
Maybe I was trying to be sneaky to make you wonder what I was doing. Did you ever think of that? Trying to be suggestive in my comments. But anyway, thank you for joining Dynasty Happy Hour. We will see you next week.